안녕하세요. Riding on the Korean wave. Welcome to Thursday's edition of The Culture Wave. I'm Kwon-Soa in Seoul. Explore with us Korea's culture from all aspects and stay up to date with K-entertainment, K-literature, K-heritage, K-everything. And before you know, you'll be booking your flight to Korea. It is Thursday, which means our co-host Bella Kim is with me in the studio. Hello, Bella.
Hi, Soa. And hello to everyone joining us today on the Culture Wave. I'm Bella, here to co-host and fill you guys in with the latest in K-entertainment.
And we've got lots to cover in regards to K-entertainment news, from big tours to a special designation and also a Korean movie. So let's just kick off with K-enter news today.
Yes.
So Bella, let's start off with some updates on some dates from a group that we have been waiting for to reunite, BLACKPINK.
Yes. BLACKPINK in your area. Literally, BLACKPINK will be in your areas. The group announced its highly anticipated 2025 World Tour dates and locations on Wednesday. BLACKPINK revealed that the limited run of shows will kick off on July 5th and 6th at Goyang Stadium in Seoul. Then the tour will continue in major cities like Los Angeles, New York, Toronto, Paris, and Barcelona. You can check out the exact dates and locations on their social media. It's also notable that they will make a stop at London's famed Wembley Stadium, which will be the very first time that a K-pop girl group will perform at the venue. So that's another history for them. And the 2025 World Tour will be the first time BLACKPINK has gone on the road as a group since the Born Pink World Tour, which ran from 2022 to 2023.
So Blinks, make sure to check where the dates of the tour of BLACKPINK in your area.
Yes.
I really wanted to try that out myself, Bella. But we have another K-pop artist performing on the global stage.
That is correct. BTS J-Hope will headline Lollapalooza Berlin, which takes place from July 12th to 13th at Olympia Stadium, Berlin. Lollapalooza is a major music festival that began in the United States in 1991 and has been expanded globally. Lollapalooza Berlin, which celebrates its 10th anniversary this year, is drawing more attention than ever with a stunning lineup, including Justin Timberlake, Gracie Abraham, and of course, our hope, J-Hope. And this is actually not J-Hope's first time performing at Lollapalooza. He was the first ever Korean singer to be on the main stage of Lollapalooza, held in Chicago back in July 2022. And meanwhile, he will begin his solo world tour, Hope on the Stage at K-Expo Dome in Seoul from February 28th to March 2nd.
Great to see him representing Korea on the global stage. Looks like he's very popular at this specific event.
Definitely.
And we have still more stories related to K-pop, this time about boy group 17.
Yes, we're going to move on to talking about 17. 17 has been named among the top 20 global artists by the International Federation of Phonographic Industry, IFPI. According to the Global Artist Chart 2024, announced on Tuesday, 17 ranked third following global pop star Taylor Swift and Drake. So that's a very, very impressive. The Global Artist Chart ranks artists based on the combination of physical album sales, digital downloads, and audio-video streaming figures. 17 first entered this chart in 2021 at number 9, rose to 6th place in 2022 and climbed 4 more spots to 2nd place in 2023. Stray Kids and ENHYPEN also secured a spot on the Global Artist Chart 2024. Stray Kids ranked 5th and ENHYPEN ranked 14th, highlighting the global popularity of K-pop. Meanwhile, 17 will hold their 9th official fan meeting, 17 in Carrotland, on March 20th and 21st at Incheon Munhak Stadium.
Amazing to see all these Korean groups behind these global pop stars. And lastly, we will end with a movie. I remember that this movie was earlier introduced at the Busan International Film Festival, but now it's finally going to premiere tomorrow. Which movie is it?
That is right. We're going to talk about a movie. But before we get into the details of the movie, do you know Taeyeon from the girl group Twice?
Of course I know. And I also know that Taeyeon is Walter's favorite member of Twice.
Right. Right, it is. Actually, she will debut as an actress in the new movie, You're the Apple of My Eye, along with actor Jin Young as well. The film is a remake of a Taiwanese film of the same name and follows the story of an 18-year-old Jinwoo who spent countless days working up the courage to confess his feelings for Sun-ah. Taehyun said at the press conference held on Wednesday that she always had a dream of becoming an actress, but just started last year as she gained some good opportunities. You're the Apple of My Eye will premiere on Friday at movie theaters.
I feel like more and more singer-turned-actors and actresses are making successful debuts, just like Taehyun from Twice, as you mentioned. And Jin Young, he also was a boy group member from B1A4.
Yes.
And there's another one called Damien, or now his actor name is Son Jung-hyuk. He also is a singer-songwriter and now an actor. So many of these singers turning into actors. Let's hope that this is going to be a successful movie.
And he will appear in the movie, You're the Apple of My Eye as well, right?
Yes, that's what I mean. And actually, I can't wait for the movie to be out because I'll be at one of the events where I'm going to see all the names that you just mentioned.
Let me know how the film is.
I will. So thank you very much, Bella, for those updates.
You're welcome. I'll stick around.
And now it's time to go over to our AI anchor, Ari, for other culture-related news.
Hello and welcome to your AI guide to the latest cultural updates from Korea. Here's our top story. The largest global gaming exhibition in Korea, G-Star, will be held in Busan this year. The city announced that it has been selected as the host for G-Star from 2025 to 2028, based on an interim evaluation by the Korea Association of Game Industry. Busan received strong marks for its support in areas including exhibition infrastructure, accommodation, and transportation. This year's G-Star will take place from November 13th to 16th at Bexco. G-Star is one of the most prominent gaming exhibitions in the world that showcases the latest trends and innovations in the gaming industry, offering a platform for game developers, publishers, and players to connect. Despite the overall downturn in the film industry, revenue from Korean films rose by 15% last year, according to a recent report from the Korean Film Council. Domestic film revenue reached 691 billion won, or roughly $480 million, marking a 15% increase from 2023. But the total theater revenue, including foreign films, remained below 1.2 trillion won, or around $833 million for the third consecutive year, reflecting a continued sluggish performance. This figure represents only 65% of pre-pandemic levels. The Jeju Folklore and Natural History Museum is hosting an exhibition titled The Snake, Guardian of Homes and Villages, marking 2025, the Year of the Snake. It highlights the role of snakes as guardian deities in Jeju's traditional beliefs, and their ecological significance in restoring damaged ecosystems. The museum hopes to revive awareness of Jeju's unique cultural heritage and reflect on the fading practice of snake worship. The exhibition runs through May. That's all from me. Stay tuned to the Culture Wave.
The National Heritage Service has unveiled key findings from a Silla Royal Capital excavation project, marking 10 years since its launch. By uncovering even the smallest historical details, the initiative has brought the story of the ancient Silla dynasty to life. Our Han Da-eun takes us through the remarkable discoveries.
This site was once a royal palace annex during the Silla dynasty. It housed Donggung, the crown prince's residence, and also served as a venue for grand banquets during national celebrations. The site was renamed from Anapji to Donggung and Wolji in the 1980s, when pottery fragments inscribed with the letters Wolji, meaning pond reflecting the moon, were discovered. Extensive excavation and restoration efforts have revived the site as one of Korea's most iconic historical landmarks over the past decade.
The primary goal was to find and restore 8 key relics of the Silla dynasty and highlight their significance as a World Heritage Site.
Recent excavation initiatives have resolved the long-standing debate over the exact location of Silla's royal palace and the crown prince's residence, Donggung. They also discovered the Silla dynasty's advanced drainage systems, civil engineering methods, and fortification construction techniques, showcasing the remarkable architectural and engineering expertise of the era. The latest excavation project also uncovered national treasure-level artifacts, including model wooden boats used in rituals, ivory dice, and ultra-small gold leaf crafts, which are thinner than a human hair.
How could such tiny gold leaf crafts be created in an era without even microscopes? It may sound exaggerated, but it almost seems like a mystery.
The Heritage Service plans to utilize unearthed artifacts in various ways to engage the public with Korea's historical gems. It also pledged to promptly share the restoration process and its findings with the public. Handan, Arirang News.
After K-pop, K-movies, and K-dramas, K-literature is the latest form of K-culture gaining global attention. In the 5-year period from 2018 to 2022, 1.85 million copies of Korean literature were sold overseas. As the genres preferred by global readers diversify, Korean literature introduced abroad has been expanding to include graphic novels, essays, and more. Now, for today's Hallyu People, we connect live to Sydney, Australia, where Mark Oh, or Oh Ji-hwan, a young translator, introduces Korean fantasy literature to international readers. Hello, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Hello, I'm Mark Oh.
Thank you for joining us. Now, Mark, please introduce yourself to our viewers and what you currently do in Australia.
Hello, I'm Mark Oh, and I'm currently studying at the University of Sydney while working as a translator in Australia. So I mainly translate Korean fantasy literature, especially the Pangea series, a fantasy novel written by my mother, Jun-ha.
And you just mentioned it, but you are translating into English the fantasy novel series Pangea or Pangea, depending on from where you are. There's a slight difference in the pronunciation, but which has been written, as you said, by a Korean author, and you just mentioned it, your own mother. So please tell us how this all started.
So actually, my mother has been writing novels in Korea for a long time, and I grew up reading her works. So Pangea was a project she had been working on since I was elementary or in middle school. And even at that young age, I was deeply captivated by the story. So it's it's not just because it was my mother's work, but because Pangea had an incredibly vast and immersive world. So I've always been drawn to expansive world building, whether in books, movies, or games. So as a child, I often imagined how Pangea could be adapted into other IP, making it even more engaging. So perhaps these thoughts naturally lead me to want to share my mother's work with a broad audience. I felt that introducing this story to readers beyond Korea was a meaningful endeavor. So that's how I took my first step into translation, which has now brought me here.
Wow, it must feel very special to translate your own mother's work. How do you feel about it, and how does your mother, the actual author of the book, Ha Ji-eun, feel about this as well?
So translating my mother's work is both rewarding and actually exhausting. So it's not just about changing words from one language to another, but about preserving the emotions and messages she intended. So in this sense, our mother and son relationship works to my advantage, as I understand her style and intentions deeply. But it also means that our discussions can be more direct and at times exhausting. So anyway, I can tell that my mother is truly delighted that her work is being translated into English and reaching more readers.
It's very interesting how you mentioned exhausting, not just once but twice, but I guess that's how much effort you put into translating these works. Now, Mark, is there anything in particular you pay attention to when translating the Pangea series? I mean, in terms of the uniqueness of fantasy fiction and also considering that your mother is the author.
So, yeah, actually, Pangea is a fantasy novel that follows the journey of the three children as they search for their missing fathers and explore lost civilizations. So this series has a unique word and terminology, so I focus on making the translation immersive while staying true to the original tone. So my mother tends to use very descriptive language, and translating that naturally into English is always a challenge. So for example, some phrases that sound perfectly fine in Korean can feel vague in English. So in such cases, I try to find proper expressions in the Western literature, movies, or games that English-speaking readers would find familiar. Yep.
And Mark, I mean, me as a reader of the Pangea series, I especially found that it could be difficult to translate fantasy stories into English because with fantasy, in the stories, you have creatures and aliens, and you have an own imagination of those characters. So that's why I especially found that translating fantasy into a different language could be difficult because everyone has their own, imagination of these characters.
Yeah.
So I believe that could also be one of the challenges when thinking about how to translate these expressions from Korean into English, especially when it's about fantasy.
Definitely. And I know you have a special bond with your mother, the author of the book, but is there any other special experiences that you've experienced, that helped you translate this Pangea series?
So actually, I've always loved fantasy novels and become familiar with fantasy terminology and world building through online games. So the magic, combat, and quest-related vocabulary I encountered in games actually significantly helped me with translation. So beyond that, these experiences also influenced my mother's writing process. We often exchanged ideas and reviewed each other's work, which made the story more engaging. So for example, I would suggest, how about using this expression? Or wouldn't it be interesting if this concept was included? So this kind of back and forth refined the novel. So if you don't like online games, you probably wouldn't know at all. But recently, a game called Baldur's Gate was released by Larian Studios, which became a global hit. So although I could have played it in my native language, Korean, that could be more comfortable for me, but I chose to play it entirely in English. So I took notes on how characters spoke and the terminology used in the game, so which I later applied to my translations.
Wow, who knew that online games would help you in, translating a book,
Yes.
right? Very interesting.
Very interesting indeed. And also, Mark, we would be interested in how much exposure Korean literature is currently receiving in Australia.
I've actually lived in Sydney before, a few years ago, but I took a break from uni for a while. Back then, Korean literature was relatively rare in Australian bookstores. However, in recent years, it has become much more easier to find Korean books in major bookstores across the country. I think interest in K-pop has driven global curiosity about Korean culture, and the recognition of Hangang as a Nobel Prize winner in literature has also contributed to a surge in interest in Korean literature. So I think more people in Australia are now actively seeking out Korean novels, and bookstores are responding by expanding their Korean literature sections.
Yes, probably Hangang's win in the Nobel Prize has put some influence into the bookstores in Australia as well. Now, also, just a quick, brief question, Mark. Did your friends actually read your novel, your translated novel, and what was their response?
Yes, I've shared my translated work with many friends, actually, because I was especially curious to see how young students in Australia would perceive my translation, whether it felt trendy or if any parts seemed awkward. So their feedback was positive. Many of them found the Pangea series to be fresh and engaging. So some of them had never read a fantasy novel like this before, interestingly, and they were impressed by the unique world building and storytelling. Yeah.
Wow, you must be very happy to get those positive reactions from your close friends as well. Now this Pangea novel series is translated to English, so it's expanding globally. But I heard that it's being adapted into another kinds of types of content that I heard.
Yes, a webtoon adaptation is currently being discussed, and in the long term, we are also considering the possibility of a musical or movie adaptation. But I'm sorry, but this is still a sensitive topic to discuss publicly, so I cannot share too many details at this time. Yeah.
All right, but really looking forward to see the Pangea series, to see or listen to the contents later on. And we also want to ask you, before literature, Korean culture has been widely introduced in the form of K-pop and K-dramas and K-movies in Australia. Was there any moment you ever felt proud because of the Korean wave while living in Sydney?
Some memorable moment that stood out to me was when aespa, one of Korea's top idol groups, performed in Sydney, and so many students at my university were talking about the event. And I realized just how far-reaching Korean culture had become. Seeing the Korean world expanding beyond entertainment and into literature makes me, incredibly proud.
We can imagine. Now, last but not least, Mark, what are your future plans or aspirations as a translator or beyond?
So my first goal is to complete the English translation of my mother's series, Pangea, from start to finish. In addition to that, I want to introduce more Korean fantasy literature that I enjoy or that I believe would resonate well with international audiences to global readers. So ultimately, I hope to establish a global agency that specializes not just in translating literature, but also in bringing Korean fantasy webtoons, novels, or games to an international audience. So I'm just want to bridge the gap between Korean creative works and a worldwide fan base.
Sounds fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Mark, for sharing your story with us today. Please keep up the great work in spreading fun Korean novels to readers around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And thank you, Bella, for your contribution today. We will see you again tomorrow.
Yes, I'll see you back tomorrow.
Thank you for spending the past half an hour with us on the Culture Wave, and hope you join us again on Friday at 2 p.m. Korea time and maybe one day here in Korea. Thanks for watching.
you curious about Korean cultural